Well, can we make improvements by getting rid of Biden? Should the man be Trump? Mark, you've got some comments here.
Yes, quickly, I'm dedicating my part of today's show to my mother, who passed away this past Friday, September 15, Catherine Anderson. She was a pursuer of truth herself, and she's a large reason that I'm a journalist. And so hats off to my mom. She became a Trumper. I've stayed as neutral as possible. She was a lifelong Democrat, then switched to Republican because of Trump, and she's never looking back. Hold on. Sorry about the phone. Anyway, here we have a CNN piece, and this is like usual. We have to untangle what the media is reporting so we can get the truth out and get understanding out. We have this headline, a recent one: election officials reject calls to unilaterally block Trump from the ballot using the 14th Amendment, but they'll defer to the courts, and we'll move on from there.
Should be.
The situation is such where, election officials in key states have recently rejected calls to unilaterally remove President Trump from the 2024 ballot and are saying courts should decide whether he's disqualified by the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist ban. The secretaries of state who oversee elections in Michigan, Georgia, that's a key state, New Hampshire, and Minnesota have recently said they don't have the power on their own to invoke the 14th Amendment and block Trump from the presidential ballot. These officials, which include Democrats and Republicans, come from states comprising 45 electoral votes. We're jumping down to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. He figures very prominently in things I'm going to be reporting today and in the future on UK Column. He's a Republican. He wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed saying that if they were to try and get rid of Trump on the ballot through the 14th Amendment, and if the secretaries of state like himself were to do that, that would, quote, reinforce the grievances of those who see the system as rigged and corrupt. Very, very interesting and ironic that he should say that, as we'll soon see. Moving on from there, I can kind of cherry pick this. Trump denies wrongdoing regarding the January 6, 2021, attack, and says these candidacy challenges have no legal basis. He has pleaded not guilty to separate federal and state indictments. We've heard all about those that charged him with crimes stemming from his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. You'll notice there that CNN assumes that he attempted to overturn the 2020 election. They're not attributing that to anyone. They kind of hardwire it into what they're reporting. And at the end of this clip, it says Ron Fine, the legal director of Free Speech for People, which is one of the organizations behind the anti-Trump candidacy challenges, said his group will continue to press this critical matter in the courts so election officials will carry out their duty to bar Trump from their state ballots. What's not made clear here is that the only way the courts can decide this is if Trump is taken to court and found guilty of insurrection and actually convicted of insurrection. Only then could they even look at the constitutional element within the 14th Amendment that bars so-called insurrectionists from holding public office. So they just don't report what's actually involved in this, and they mislead people, acting like this can be done separately from actually convicting Trump in a court of law of the actual charge of insurrection. So it's a point of clarity here. Many other secretaries of state are saying that Trump has every right to be on the ballot like anyone else until proven otherwise. And so the anti-Trump people are just going to desperate extremes, and the media is twisting things as usual, as I pointed out, to try and delegitimize Trump in the eyes of the public. And so we'll just be keeping a close eye on this. But some other things I'm reporting today and an interview I'm doing later in the week are going to shed much more light on this in a much broader way. So back to you guys.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mark. Well, it seems that we can't really trust any area of society, whether it's political or part of the agencies. Can we trust the police in UK? It seems